People who cheated while in a relationship and didn't get caught. Did you stop? Why or why not? I was simply dating a girl I didn't like and was too much of a coward to break it off. I found someone else and started cheating. They didn't know about the existence of each other, but after some time guilt made me stop seeing both of them. Have you heard of Scott Pilgrim? I went away for the summer to work at a summer stock theater. My girlfriend at the time and I had been dating on and off for about a year. Things started off well. We talked and texted every day. After a while, talking every day turned to once or twice a week. About the last month into my contract, this girl that had been hitting on me all summer made a move and I just went with it. It was very no strings attached. She didn't know I had a girlfriend and I never told anybody because nobody ever asked. After my contract was up and I went home, my girlfriend was waiting on me and she was so happy to see me that she was in tears. It destroyed me. I was happy to see her too, but knowing what I did just crushed me. I never once felt bad about it until that moment. I immediately told her. I felt so guilty and knew I had to tell her. Her happy tears turned to sad and angry ones. She yelled and cried and yelled more. I ended the relationship because I thought she deserved someone better than me. We still keep in touch and are friends, but I always wonder what would have happened had I not cheated. She's forgiven me, but I haven't forgiven myself. This was several years ago and I still feel like a piece of crap. Yeah, after it happened I realized I didn't love myself, so I broke it off. The guilt of cheating made me realize I wasn't the best boyfriend, so I spent a year working on myself and waiting until I found the right girl. I eventually did, and in a month it'll be our 3-year anniversary, so I guess things do work out sometimes. Kudos on being introspective, my man. Hope it stays well. We were on a break, or so I thought. It ended a little while later anyway. Breaks are a good idea until the person who asked for the break doesn't get laid like they thought they would, and the person that didn't want the break gets laid like they didn't think they would. I didn't love him anymore. It had been a year since we last had sex or even kissed. It was an unhealthy relationship to say the least. I went out one night and got too drunk and hooked up with someone. That's how I realized I didn't love them, because I didn't even feel guilty after. It was such a relief to experience human contact again. I ended things shortly after. He doesn't know. Telling him what I did would have made a bad breakup even worse. I am a human trash can. Didn't get caught. Was having second thoughts about my GF anyway, and I made out with another girl while drunk at a bar. Broke up with my GF like a week later for a few other reasons. Never told her as it would just make her question herself. Better for her happiness that she never found out. Still bothers me that I did that and won't ever do it again. I agree with not telling in this situation, but only because you broke up with her shortly after. Throwaway. My current wife and I were madly, deeply in love with one another, but we were both married to other people. When we found out how we both felt about one another, we immediately started dating, including sleeping with one another. This carried on for 1.5 years, until we left our spouses for each other. We both feel absolutely terrible about being unfaithful to our spouses, but are insatiably in love with one another. We had both just married, young, and with the wrong people. Our lives now are a night and day difference from what they once were. I'm simultaneously guilt-ridden for what I put my last wife through and eternally grateful that I met my current wife. It has been 3 years now since we've gone public with our relationship, and I've never been a happier person. My husband and I got together when I was very young, and quickly had a couple kids. Now, 15 years later, I realize I no longer love him. Anytime I have ever brought up an issue in our relationship, he's either become defensive or mopey and makes me feel sorry for him. He's done things that were bordering on sexual assault. Sex with me while I was asleep, long after I'd told him to stop because it made me feel horrible, and I really feel like his lack of respect just can never make him desirable to me again. However, we simply just can't afford to split up. I gently brought up having an open marriage a couple years ago, but he freaked out about that. I've expressed my feelings about no longer being attracted to him, and he's put in effort for a short time, then reverted back to normal. So, I realize the only way I'm going to be even remotely happy and emotionally sexually fulfilled for the next 10 years or more is to try to find someone else. I cheated twice in 1 week. I have never been that kind of person and the guilt has been eating away at me from the inside out. That's why I stopped. I have told no one. However, I will say it was probably one of my favorite experiences, not the lying or sneaking around but the feeling that someone wants me. I have been married for 5 years. My husband and I were on questionably drugs when we met, so sex was never really a topic or even possible during come downs. What I thought was love was a confusing flood of emotions while going through detox. After it was over we had a connection that I just couldn't walk away from, and saying I love you so many times you start to believe that this is what love is. I rarely get sex and when I do it's nothing special. I am always going the extra mile to please him but does nothing sexually for me in return. I get emotionally punished for watching pee. However, I'm not going to do anything about it because I hate confrontation. Hate hurting people. Will always take someone back even though I know I shouldn't. Afraid of social interaction. I can't make rent without him. Thanks for listening. Sounds like you are in a pretty difficult situation. Being tied to someone not only because of the experiences you have went through together, but financially as well. You deserve to be happy. You might consider going to see a therapist to at least talk about it. You would be surprised how just saying something out loud makes you feel better. I had a bit of overlap between my relationships. I'm not proud of it. Things were toward the end of the first and I started seeing the second. There was about a month of overlap. However, the second guy is now my husband, so I can't say I regret it. My story is different than the others I've read in this post. Reluctant to share because I know it's horrible, but here it is. All through college I was crazy for a manager at my part-time job. When I was single we hooked up multiple times, but that is all it amounted to. I always wanted more, and stupidly thought someday he would want that too. We became more distant over time although we still worked together, and I met this really great guy who I really cared about. This new guy and I dated for a while and became exclusive. So when I graduated college I've been dating this guy for a year. At this time he takes a summer internship 4 hours away. He was a junior. A couple weeks into his internship I quit my part-time job as I was starting my new job after graduation. My old manager and I got closer again since I was leaving and I reluctantly agreed to hang out with him. I loved my boyfriend but I never fully got over this guy. We had sex. It wasn't satisfying and I regretted it immediately. Now it's 2 years later and I am still with my boyfriend. I've never told him and I've been completely faithful to him since. It sickens me to know I did that to him. The guilt really gets to me still and I am very much in love with my boyfriend. I know it's wrong to keep this from him, but I can't lose him over something I am positive I will never do again. Still doesn't make it right. Tough call for sure. I guess you need to decide if you can live with the guilt. If he ever finds out somehow it's gonna really frick him up though. I cheated on someone once. I was 17 and he was 27. I tried to end the relationship multiple times and he would manipulate, cry, threaten to kill himself. I was young and didn't know how to properly get out of a relationship. I slept with someone else then told him about it the same day thinking that would make it clear to him I didn't want to be in this relationship. He still would not let me go. I finally had to leave town temporarily and stay with relatives, not answer my phone, tell him I was done and moving away to get away from him in order to get the breakup I had been trying to get for 5 months at this point. Looking back I know that cheating is wrong, but I also think that something is more wrong with a man who is 10 years older than me manipulating me and insisting I be with him against my will. I honestly had never even been in a long-term relationship before that and had no skills on how to get out of one, especially when being held hostage in one. Nothing good ever happens after 2 AM. Just go home. I get bored easy and disengage when I do. I like new things, new people. I get attached fast and it goes one of two ways. They also get attached and I cool off pretty quick, or they don't attach and I get twisted up over wanting what I can't have. This happened with people outside my relationships regularly. Showed no signs of stopping. Tried a partner in an open relationship and it didn't work, so basically I didn't and won't stop, so I've grown up some, recognized that and avoid relationships now in favor of an intense 2-3 week connection every so often. This is how my ex was. When I was 18 years old, a 50-year-old guy I worked with told me there's no point having a girlfriend at your age. You aren't going to stay with her the rest of your life. You might as well go out and meet people and explore your sexuality with different people. Dumb 18-year-old me decided to follow this advice. Not that I went out looking for it. I was at a festival and it just kind of happened. I stayed with her for a while afterwards and I never told her. I felt like a dong, and it meant nothing to me, but I knew she'd feel betrayed. I didn't have the guts to tell her. I felt like a coward and it eventually led to us breaking up. Got back together a year later and stayed together for another 2 years. Still never had the guts to tell her. I loved her so much. I didn't want to jeopardize what we had. It was a good 2 years, but we eventually split. Still think about her every day even 2 years later. But I don't regret not telling her. She had problems with bipolar aggression and depression. Telling her would have done more damage than good, I feel. But maybe that's just me justifying the crappy thing I've done. Capital A. The opportunity presented itself and was too good to pass on. I did stop after far too many lies and a fledgling guilty conscience. Cheated numerous times on a woman who I had no idea why I was with. I was sleeping around with 4 or 5 other women during our 6-month exclusive relationship. I ended up getting herpes and breaking up with her to date the woman who gave me herpes. Username checks out. Everyone who has cheated on me just told me themselves, and I hadn't been suspicious prior to it. Well, one of them I was getting to the point of asking if something was wrong, but he was always really busy with work, so it took a few months. I feel kind of dumb about that one. Sigh. I was dating a girl who was playing games with me and making me feel crappy, and before we put a label on the relationship but were definitely seeing each other, I met up with someone and we ended up hooking up. We kept it up for a while, and I eventually started hooking up with the original girl too. Eventually, my conscience got the best of me, which it should have before the whole thing started, and I admitted it to the first girl. She was mad. We broke up, but she still wanted me around and eventually wanted me back. After all was said and done, I stopped seeing both of them. Neither would have known without me admitting it to one or the other. They lived in different cities. One was not on social media whatsoever and both were busy enough that when they had time to see me, they saw me and didn't think much of it. The worst offenders won't be replying. You won't find the people who cheat with no remorse commenting on this. I know a couple mutual acquaintances who have cheated on every person they have been with. It's despicable. They don't see anything wrong with it. Completely messed up in the head though, and I don't know why. Yep, a friend of mine since childhood has fricked up every single one of her relationships over the last 30 years by cheating. Every single one of her relationships has ended because of her infidelity, yet in her mind she is doing absolutely nothing wrong. I cheated on the love of my life and I regret it every minute. I did it because I was dumb and frisky and attention craving. I'm now with the guy I cheated on and I'm miserable through and through. I was dating this girl for 9 months when it happened. The other girl just seemed to get me. I kissed her and things just went on from there. I told my GF about it the next day and she hated me for the next 2 years until I apologized. I was in a on and off relationship with the other girl but ended it for good later on after I found out how toxic of a person she was. 8 months after that, I found out she was playing me and some other guy at the same time. Looking back, I can only regret my decisions as a 15-year-old. I didn't feel crappy about it until 2 years after. So I told the girl I cheated on I'm sorry and she forgave me. We are on good terms now but I don't talk to the other girl anymore. Cheating was a crappy thing to do, and I promised myself I'd never do it again. I've never cheated on my husband and I don't plan on doing so, although I do feel so dang lonely and abandoned and undesirable to him. I can honestly say, at this point in my life, I completely understand cheaters, whereas I never could before. Yes, the guilt was too much. Also, I may not have gotten caught, but I certainly snitched on myself almost immediately after it happened. Here we go. Throwaway obviously. When I got with my so it was all good for the first 2 weeks. Then it went weird. She said she was insecure but she was a cruel woman to me. Made me feel used, fat, ugly. When I'd cut her off she'd manage to get back in. She is my first love. It was difficult. During this time, an old childhood friend and I hit it off and we fricked. The next morning wasn't awkward. She said she'd keep a secret and that was that. It happened again 2 days later but more intense. My confidence was coming back after my so had destroyed it, and I thought, right, I'm telling her to do one and going to continue banging my friend. When I met my so, she broke down, apologized for everything. She was mentally ill. I could tell in that moment she didn't mean what she did, and she apologized profusely and changed. That day she changed, so I did too. I carried on loving my so because besides her bully stage, she was my angel. I don't care at this point if I get hate. I don't even care if people give my so hate. But romance isn't a Hollywood movie. My relationship did not start as conventional, nor is it now. But I'd die for my so, and I'm sure she would die for me. But we both made mistakes in the beginning, and now I'm happy to be hers. I met my ex at a small gathering with a bunch of mutual friends we had, and I tried putting the moves on her with the intention of only hooking up. We kissed and she told me that was her first kiss. We were 18. So I dated her because I felt kind of bad just telling her I was trying to bang and go, and I figured it might work because she was nice, and it did for a while. But then I joined the military, and once I got to my first unit I was over 2,000 miles away. She wanted attention, I didn't have the energy time to give with my new job and getting qualified. But I was still lonely and frisky, so eventually I met a few ladies and hooked up with them, then broke up with her without her knowledge of the other people. When I was younger I had a few drunken one-nighters outside of my relationships. Never kept anything going, or even answered the other girls' attempts to contact me afterwards. I felt like it would be even worse if I kept talking to them and led them or my GFS on. I didn't intend to hurt anyone with my actions, and wanted to minimize any damage I did. Alcohol was a B. Yes, it was me, and not the alcohol. I knew what could possibly happen if I drank too much. None of that sounds like a very healthy relationship. 29F here. I was a serial cheater from age 15-22. Fell in love with a guy at 15. Was on and off with him for all those years. He was the one, but I had other boyfriends during that time. Had no qualms cheating on those boyfriends, with that guy or anyone else, because I was always going to end up with my first love. I never got caught. I bounced from guy to guy, no issue. When I cut contact with that first guy I never physically cheated again. Although towards the end of my last relationship I started an emotional affair as someone to move on to. I got bored of him and it didn't work out. When I've been single I've been very promiscuous. I've been faithful to my fiancé of 4 years. However, we are swingers, so fool around with other people together. Perhaps I'm just not up for monogamy. Who knows? It was in the first few months of a new relationship and I cheated with an ex. I stopped pretty quick though because it helped me realize that I really liked my girlfriend a lot more than I thought I did. A previous relationship left me a bit cold and cautious with love, so I didn't want to get too serious. We dated for 5 years, and I still miss her. She's changed a lot though for the worse, and I can't go back to her for my own well-being. I wouldn't change a thing though, I guess. She shaped who I am today and I matured a lot from having to be there for her through her depression and anxiety. Although I am fairly dead inside now. Sorry if that was convoluted and ranty. I'm not in so great of shape right now, so I needed to vent, I guess. I really hope someone can enlighten me, but I'm seeing these comments who cheated because they fell out of love or just didn't love them anymore. How? I met my ex 4 years ago and we dated for 3.5 of them. I loved her so freaking much. I still do. Still having an insane amount of trouble moving on, and I want to move on. But something always happens to set me back to square one. How do you just stop loving someone? How does that work? I've grown up hearing that you don't just stop loving someone. You either still do or never did. And I kinda agree with that. I'm not trying to put judgment on anyone. I just want to know how this kind of thing happened, since my ex told me she didn't love me anymore. Nope. I've definitely fallen out of romantic love with someone. I still love them as a person, but it's that the part of me that romantically loved them is almost like a different person that I don't even know anymore. I used to be such a good girl, but dated all the wrong kind of men that didn't have jobs and smoked too much weed. Then I met a guy in a club. Soon as I saw him it was like I'd hit a brick wall. We didn't hook up that night, we didn't even kiss. Swapped numbers and started talking online. For 3 years we ended up hooking up while I dated various guys. I just couldn't say no to him. He was like an obsession to me. I tried deleting his number, blocking him on Facebook, but I couldn't stay away from him. Year 4 I decided I couldn't carry on with it. I either admitted that I wanted more or deleted him from my life. We have been together for 6 years now, living together for 5 and engaged for 4. I'm not necessarily the cheater, but I assisted a woman in her cheating on her BF of 2.5 years. She told me it was a terrible relationship, that he was terrible to her, etc. I had a crush on her for a while, so I just said frick it and went ahead with it. We kept this up for about 6 months, me thinking she was gonna break up with him and generally just eating up every word she said about him being crap and her wanting to be done with him. They eventually split up. We got together, then she immediately cheated on me with him, like only 2 weeks into it, if that. It was deserved, I guess. I certainly was a bastard to him, when he had never done anything wrong to me. Well, when I found out, I half in anger, half growing a conscience, told him everything. He was furious, made her feel horrible, etc. Well, she threatened to kill herself, so I went and saved her from herself. Spent a week with her, etc. At the end of that week, in order to save herself and her supposedly crappy relationship they both had wanted out of, she threw me under the bus and lied to him to blame everything on me. Got a lot of people to think it was all my fault and to hate me. I gave him photographic proof of everything she lied to him about, but I guess he wanted to continue ahead with the already failing relationship anyways. IDK. This just happened, so I am pretty hurt over everything. I fell in love with her like a dumbass, so that's nice. I don't really have much against the guy, other than he is retarded for staying with her after everything. If he knew all the crap she said about him to me or her friends, or all the things she did with me, it would destroy him. So I am trying to do the best I can by taking whatever high road is left to me, and saving him the pain of knowing that information. Ex used to shut down every time we got in a fight. Literally unreachable, and this would drive me mad. Once he disappeared for a few days again, unwilling to talk to me, and in those 2 days I met a guy in my class. New guy was irresistibly hot, was in a band, 6-pack, dumb as a sack of rocks, but it didn't matter. Before I really got to know him, my boyfriend decided to reappear with an apology. I loved him and stayed with him, but it was too late. New guy had made an impression. I used to sneak off to new guy's apartment and we'd fool around. But the first time we went to have sex I couldn't do it and I left. Showed up to my boyfriend's apartment instead and pretended like nothing happened. In a few days time I was back at new guy's apartment, and went back again and again because it was too much fun. Looking back, I was miserable in the relationship. I felt no guilt for what I did, but broke it off anyways for fear of getting caught instead. The whole scenario was a high I couldn't get enough of. Obviously that relationship ended, and in a spiteful way I hope one day he finds out what I did. Wouldn't put it past myself to do it again. Edit. Thanks for all the feedback, good bad. To those of you who are offended by this, I assume you've been on the wrong side of it. In which case I'll tell you that people like me are often reckless and in most cases don't deserve someone willing enough to care so much. I'm not one for karma, but I'm sure I have a long life ahead for the game to be set even, if it hasn't been already. And to all, I'll always respond with the truth, no matter how ugly it is or how dismantled it makes me seem. I had been in an emotionally abusive relationship for over 5 years and I had no friends because my boyfriend at the time wouldn't allow me to have any. I met this guy on the internet who lived near me and he asked me if I wanted to hang out. I went to his house and we hung out and played video games, and I was just so happy to finally have someone else in my life who was nice to me and didn't treat me like crap. We were starting to get kind of close on the couch and the guilt got to me, so I told him that I have a boyfriend and he was understanding. But then I just broke down and told him about what he was like, and we ended up talking all night about it. We laid in his bed and he cuddled me and just listened to me and gave me really good advice. He also told me about how his last relationship was over 5 years and his girlfriend had cheated on him and got pregnant, and he just came home one day and she was gone. He eventually drove me home, and as soon as I got home I called my boyfriend and broke up with him. It was like finally having one other person in my life who didn't make me feel like crap about myself was all that I needed to work up the courage to leave him. This guy and I hung out a lot after I left my boyfriend. We had some casual sex, but I don't think either of us expected it to go anywhere. We both just kind of helped each other to get past our crappy past relationships. I met a guy who wanted to take me on a for real date, and when I told my guy friend, he seemed genuinely really happy for me and wished me luck, but also told me to watch out because I was still vulnerable from my recent ex-boyfriend. I started dating that guy and we talked less because it seemed weird to me to still hang out with a guy I had casual sex with when I was in a relationship, and I think he probably understood that too. We haven't talked in many years now, and I'm now with a different guy who I've been with for many years now, and marriage is on the horizon. But even to this day, if it wasn't for him, I don't think I would have been able to work up the courage to leave my abusive ex. And I'm really thankful to have met him and how he helped me, and I hope I helped him deal with his relationship problems. 2. A lot of justifying cheating in the comments. You guys do know you can break up with someone, right? And that if you fool around in a relationship, then you'll be known for doing it in your new ones? Verbal abuse or not, just end it or try and fix it. Going around meeting new people to flirt and frick paints you as a crappy person. I found out that my ex-wife fricked my former squad leader, so I ran around sticking my dong in everything that would let me. I eventually left her and found my soulmate. I couldn't imagine cheating again though. I moved 300 plus miles away to university. I cheated with quite a number of people over the 3 years. I know why. I knew that my partner wasn't right for me. I knew we wanted different things. I was also very lonely at uni, and he didn't do phone calls and was crap at texting. I wasn't good at making friends and lived with only one other girl who was always out with her fiance. If guys approached me wanting more, I was just happy to have someone talking to me that I wouldn't knock them back when they wanted more. I was starving for attention, friendship and attention of that sort. I was also a huge coward. All my boyfriend and mine friends were the same. We hung out with the same people and they were my only friends. Adopted through him. If I broke up with him or admitted what I'd done, I would have had no one. I was far too fragile for that. I nearly OD'd in my first year of uni. I was depressed, lonely, hated myself for cheating on him. Writing the note to my mum stopped me. I couldn't do it to her. My partner was a lovely man but made zero effort. After uni, he still preferred to get stoned and play video games than actually doing anything. In the years we were together, he never came out for my birthday or go out at all. We just got stoned, played video games and fricked. So even when we lived together after uni, we interacted very little. Really, I knew it was doomed, so I now think maybe cheating was my way of sabotaging the relationship. Though he still doesn't know. Telling him would only make me feel better to relieve the guilt and make him feel worse. We still see each other occasionally and get on. He's with a lovely lady and they have 2 gorgeous kids together. He's a fantastic dad, which I knew he would be, and has now stopped smoking weed. He now goes out and spends time with his family and says it's because I broke up with him. He said he realized he needed to make more effort or he'd lose another girlfriend. I have zero desire to cheat with my fiance. I know he's right for me. We like to do the same things. I would do anything for him and he loves to make me smile. We are strong and I love him more than I thought it possible. We want the same things out of life, and if we do argue, we only want to work on it, rather than me wanting to find comfort in the attention of others. I am not proud of what I did, but since we broke up I had time to reflect on why I behaved the way I did, and now I know. Basically, the relationship was bust. It was wrong for many reasons. To those who are cheating right now, think about why you are doing it. Is it really just cause you're frisky, or drunk, or whatever? I should have never stayed with this guy. It was cruel and wrong. Even the last few years where I wasn't cheating. The grass isn't greener if you're with the right person. I will forever be ashamed of what I did and wish I hadn't done it. Don't be me. All these people are saying they cheated on their so because oh, I didn't like him anymore, or oh, our love faded, she was mean. That doesn't freaking matter. Tell people that you don't love them anymore. Don't cheat on them even if your love faded. As someone who has been on the receiving end of cheating, I found out my GF was doing it. It's literally the worst feeling in the world knowing that someone you love is making you second best because of some cheap thrill. After about a year of not dating anyone, I started dating a slightly younger girl, and it was nice and simple. She was nice enough, and she loved my band. But then I met the girl of my dreams at a party. After a bit of awkward courting, we went back to her place and she gave me her number. I had to break it off with the younger girl and neither of them knew I cheated until I told them after I defeated my girl's 7 evil exes. Lol. I absolutely hate the phrase "it's not like you're married." I don't think a contract should be necessary to be willing to be monogamous and devoted to a person. Not being married isn't a good enough reason not to cheat. My boyfriend and I have been together for 2 years and I love this man like crazy. He has zero interest in ever getting married. We live together, share expenses and goals. I would like to get married one day but I'm not about to force it on him. Nor would I leave him for not wanting to get married. Our relationship is no less valid than any other, regardless of my last name or our tax filing status. I couldn't imagine ever cheating on him or breaking his trust because there isn't a ring on my finger. I hate hearing some douche nugget trying to pick me up saying I don't see a ring. Mother sucker, you ain't gonna see anything else of me either. And I greatly look down on those in long-term and committed relationships using it as an excuse to bury a meat cucumber in her flesh garden. It's not hard to not cheat. Just don't have sex. Bam. Don't like the person you're with and want to lay on your back being prodded with strangers' flesh probes? Leave your partner. It's not like you're married. I was on the rebound from a girl who wasn't interested but knew I was. I guess she wanted attention when she was drunk so she'd see how far she could go and just string me along between parties. I got sick of the game and walked away but jealousy of her newest toy ate me up. When another girl at school gave me a bit of attention and actually wanted me, I thought I was in love. My new GF moved away for college and I'd spend hours on the phone and Skype every night. I'd skip on social events to talk to her and work into the night to make time. Over a few weeks, months, she didn't like it when I'd say I couldn't talk tonight because I had to work or wanted to make friends. We didn't communicate well. For all our hours of talking, she wanted to have screaming arguments and clear the air. I'm not big on conflict, so I would change the subject. She took this as me not caring and not wanting to fight for us to make it work. I started to dread calling her, to the point I felt sick to my stomach hours before our time because I knew she'd start shouting again. But skipping a night meant it would be worse when I eventually did call. On one of my pre-negotiated nights off, I met a man. He was kind. He listened. He understood. He cared. We kept bumping into each other, not quite by accident. He would walk me to my door, whatever the time, whatever the weather, to make sure I got home safe. I fell for him, hard. We would go out with all the other freshers, come home and talk for hours. I started drinking coffee just so I could invite him in for a cup. One night, when he stood up to leave, I kissed him. We skipped the next morning's lectures in favor of staying in bed together. I thought it would be awkward the next day, but it wasn't. I felt free and happy and worthwhile for the first time in months. Breaking up with the GF was obvious, but horrible. And of course most of our school friends sided with her and I lost them too. But it was worth it. I gained a sense of perspective, self-respect and the love of my life. He's stuck by me, Lord knows why, for all the years since, in sickness and in health. To answer your question OP, I stopped cheating when the man I cheated with proved to be everything I cheated for. Got drunk and went down on a girl at a party. Didn't kiss her because in the moment that would have somehow been worse. Ridiculous. I never told her and the relationship ended 2 years later for unrelated reasons. I feel bad for being such a coward. Rare elephant strawberry like for good luck ignore for 11 years of bad luck. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video.